So I said on the last video how I'd kill the battery by leaving the key in the ignition for 10 days, and the frunk is flooded. I've just got in, I've put the battery back in. I haven't cleared out the frunk and I haven't cleared out the drain holes, but it really smells damp in here. So it's been now, it's probably been about 12 days since I've driven it. So let's see if it fires up first. Yes, right voltage, oil looking good. Yes. Okay, so let's go for a drive. Ooh, handbrake stuck. So we've got going, and everything seems to be okay, touch wood. All of the settings obviously have reset the clock and the mileometer and trip thing, but everything feels kind of okay. There's still fuel in it. It just smells a bit damp in here, but otherwise good. It's getting to the point where I feel like I'm neglecting this car just way too much. But there's just no time to do anything with it, and also with Christmas and lockdown and my wife having a car accident and all of those things, I've not had a chance to do anything with this car, move it, drive it, nothing. And it doesn't need anything doing to it, it just needs driving, and it needs cleaning. Because I park it under a tree, it's just constantly sat with tree sap and leaves all over it. And when I open the frunk, there's leaves all across the top vents. There's leaves down by the battery, so obviously the drainage holes are blocked, and that's what's caused it to flood. Now the problem is I haven't cleared it out. I've cleared out the standing water when I took the battery out the other day, but there's still a lot of water at the bottom, and the problem is that because I didn't do it that first time, it's all now frozen, so it's just a block of ice, which means it might melt now that I'm driving it, but it's kind of, 2 degrees outside, so I'm not going to do that. And so I just thought I'd take it out for a drive, just to make sure everything's okay. The problem is that the tyres need inflating, the pressures aren't quite right, so it just feels a bit jiggly on the road. It really makes a difference, the pressures, so I need to do something about that. And just on the last video that I made while I was driving the 912, so I literally had to take that out to go to the shop, because that was the only car that I had available that was working. There's 4 cars in our household. So this one, I'd kill the battery. The Golf, gone somewhere because it's wrecked. And the MG is in storage. So that just left the 912. Fortunately, fired up. I took it for a nice drive, as you guys saw. But then what I did do was, when I got back, I did tweak the timing quite a bit, and I got the idle speed a bit better, and it revving a bit freer, so the timing just needs fiddling with a little bit, but I just haven't got the time to do it, which is a bit rubbish. And just to clarify a couple of things that I said on that video, and one of them was definitely true, is I find it hard to think clearly while I'm driving that car because of all of the things that are different to the cars I've driven my entire grown-up life. Most of them being it's left-hand drive, there's no seat belts, and it's got dog leg first. Those kind of things, and because I'm used to driving a car that's slightly more hard work to drive. Not more hard work, it requires more engagement, because I do enjoy driving those cars, and I just need to drive the 912 more to get used to it. So my MG, for example, there's tons of things that I have to work around driving that, but I enjoy that. I enjoy that, not the challenge, but it's the engagement. And I love driving the 912. I just want to drive it more, but it's just that the roads are wet. I don't know what condition it is underneath fully. Most of it is, you know, it's kind of seam sealed. It's got some kind of under seal stuff on it. The floors have been changed, but there is rust. Jack pointed out some rust where down at the back where the rear seats are, just underneath, there's a chassis rail. I think, well, is it chassis rail? It's the structural part of the car. There are a couple of holes, and I would like to get those done. I would like to get an MOT, but you know, all stuff that I've said before. But I would like to drive it, but it was just, I wouldn't want to drive it in this kind of time of year. But I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed driving it. I loved the use of the new stereo. As you probably gathered, I've only got the one tape, which is Dire Straits, which is a great one to have. And I'll probably get a few more tapes. I'm not sure if I'm going to listen to music in the car, because I tend not to in all the car. I don't even tend to listen to music in this car. The thing that I do listen to when I'm driving this car is the Porsche Cooled podcast. Sometimes I go for a drive, just like to go out for a drive, and it's a good opportunity to listen to the Porsche Cooled podcast, and I would highly recommend you subscribe to it. It's available on Spotify or through Apple Music, and there's 2 a week. One's an owner story where someone tells their story about how what their history is with Porsches, how they came to own one, and their story of ownership. And I think I was on the 3rd one, but it's moving at a pace. I think it's 1 a week. And also there's one on Friday, which is Michael Bath and his friend Steve having a general chit chat about all things Porsche. But the thing I like about it is that they also talk about all things to do with just design classics, and a lot of it is centered. Oh, I can't turn around my neck. A lot of it is centered on. I get the impression that Michael and Steve know things about classic style and design. So that, and I'm interested in that kind of thing. So just the general chit chat is quite engaging, and I'd love to be a part of like a round table coffee discussion. And Michael being in London at the moment, it would have been brilliant to catch up with him in person, but we're in lockdown. And the reason I'm out in the car again is because when I went out in my 912 the other day, I took a wrong turn, so I ended up really far from home, which was nice. And then on the way back, as I was heading towards the shop, I was convinced that it was going to break down and it was going to massively overheat. So I just went straight back home. And when I parked up, I was convinced I could hear oil boiling, like bubbling. So I need a new temperature sensor, oil temperature sensor. There's 2 of them, so I'm just going to get 2 and put them in. I'm not sure. I just need to test the wiring. The wiring I'm pretty sure works because the gauge reacts when you turn the ignition on, but you don't get a temperature reading. It never goes above that. But I could properly smell the engine, and I'm sure I could hear bubbling oil, which surely is not possible. That's got to be like serious temperature. But anyway, so normally that's what I do when I'm out for a drive. I don't listen to music, but I love the way the Sanyo stereo looks, and I would highly recommend that one. It's on my Instagram, and I think in the previous video I put a picture of the box up. The great thing about it is that it's new old stock, so it's brand new. It's available on Amazon. It's £135, which is quite steep. And if you've got a 70s or an 80s car, 60s is probably a bit, because the 912 is 60s, but it still looks so right in there. And the thing about it is, if you've got an early 80s car, it still works because the faceplate is silver, but if you flip it over, it's black. So it can go from 70s looking to 80s looking. and I'd highly recommend it. It sounds great. The speakers that I bought, I've put up as well, and they sound great. They didn't look great, and I've hacked them into the old speaker boxes, and I put rubber washers inside, and that stopped the vibration and made the sound better, but they kind of look awful. In the last video I said, oh, I think they look alright. They kind of look awful, but I don't mind because they sound great, and I've kept the slight patina around them, so I'm perfectly happy with that. The wiring, I'm really pleased with the wiring, because it was a total mess. The wiring was a complete mess. It was wired into the lighter with exposed wiring, and plus it was permanent live, so if the wire ever fell off it would hit something metal and blow a fuse somewhere. It was and if you left the radio on you'd kill the battery. So I've put it through the ignition, which meant taking the ignition lock and all of that stuff off, but it wasn't that big a deal. There was an available connection on the ignition switch, so I couldn't be happier. The only thing that I will end up changing is the aerial. I've left the roof aerial plugged in. The digital one didn't work. Well, it didn't do the job. So I'll probably get a proper one that mounts in under the wing, but on the driver's side wing. But the problem with that is someone's body fillered it. You can see the crack where it should be. So I'll probably get like an electric one that, if I can wire it to an electric one, I think I can. So if I get an electric one that comes up when you turn the radio on, so that should mean if you turn the car off, it should go back down by itself. So you never leave it up. So I might go for that. But those are all tiny things. Other than that, I'm really pleased with how my drive was. So which was pretty good. Now, a couple of things that I said, I need to clarify on that video. One of them was about when I was thinking about buying a 911 Shell. It's something that I saw on eBay. It's like £9,000, £8,995, and it says no offers. So you've got to buy it. You've got to pay that. It comes without wheels and nothing. It's got nothing on it. It's got suspension. It's a rolling shell. And then separately for £8,995, you can buy. So it's kind of it's £18,000. You can buy the 2.4 mechanical fuel injection engine, which is the matching numbers engine. I don't think there's a gearbox, so you won't get a gearbox with it. But then I thought, well, okay, my 912 isn't matching numbers, isn't the correct colour, so I could just dismantle that and make up. But then all of the effort, the space, the money on labour, all of the things that you'd have to fix. I mean, you would have a really pucker 911. I think it's a 1973 911T. So yeah, quite basic. It's a basic one. But you'd have a 911. But you're looking at, just to start with, you'd spend about £50,000, and then on top of that, you would then get all of the little bits that you'd have to buy that you haven't thought of. And there's probably some stuff that you do for the interior, the wiring, rubbers, stuff that doesn't fit properly. You'd be looking at £60,000 or £70,000 when it's done, and I think you can buy them for that much. I mean, it'd be done really well, so it wouldn't need anything else. But it's just too much effort, and you know what I'm like. I want pretty much instant gratification. So when it comes to my cars, I do like to, from the point of me thinking I'd like to be driving that, to me actually driving it, if it's a realistic option, I'm fairly quick about that. And I think that's just too long. That's a big commitment. There's a lot of people on the Porsche called owner stories and things like that, and on Instagram, and people have reached out to me who've spent a long time thinking about or planning ownership, and I've talked about this loads. And I like the ones who do the thing where they decide, actually, do I want to buy a 911? Yes, I do. Here's my budget. Here's my criteria. That one meets it. I'll do some checks that mean I'm not throwing my money away, and I'm done. Go and buy it. And then there's, others who take quite a long time and see lots of cars that could be an option, but don't buy them. For a very long time and procrastinate. And I'm a master procrastinator on nearly everything. I mean, if I have to buy a pair of shoes, oh my god. Mostly because if I'm wearing them and I make my shoes last a really long time because I keep getting them repaired, and I want them to be stylish and I want them to be timeless, then I'll think about it. But at the same time, and there's a function. Of course, you want form as well as function, and you want comfort when it comes to shoes. Why am I talking about shoes? But when it comes to a car and you want to enjoy driving it, and sometimes driving it isn't about the comfort. Now this goes back to, actually I'm going to go off on a bit of a tangent. Shocking, I know. When I hear somebody talking about SUVs. Now, I'm not a fan of SUVs. I refuse to have one. I've got 2 small children, and sometimes it's a challenge getting everything in the car. My wife is brilliant. She's like a Tetris queen, where she can just fit anything in the car. Whereas I'm looking there, go, no, that's never going to fit. But she's like, yeah, it's going to fit. She's always right. But when people talk about SUVs, and I'll say, but SUVs, you never get in an SUV and go for a drive and go, oh, I'm just going to go for a drive because it's going to put a smile on my face. And when someone says, that's a great drive, against all other SUVs, that's a great drive. Well, when you're comparing shit against other shit, it's just a different grade of shit, right? So if you say, well, actually, is it going to make me get in and go for a drive and put a smile on my face, then an SUV isn't going to do it. But also, medium-sized SUVs, crossover, whatever they're called, they aren't any bigger than your average hatchback. So I've been on holiday and I've been given a Renault Capture. I couldn't fit all my stuff in it that I'd had in my Golf Mark IV, which I had back then. Then I went on a holiday and I was given an Audi Q2, and the stuff that I'd had in my Audi A3 I couldn't get in there. Now how does that work? How can they make a car so big on the outside and so small on the inside? But the thing with SUVs is a lot of people drive them because they want to be sat high up. I just don't understand that. And most of them aren't about the driving experience. It's more about what they look like, and it's more about safety. So for me, you know what? No, that's just BS. I'm not an SUV fan. People can buy them if they need something bigger, and they buy an SUV that is bigger and it's bigger than a car. For practicality, I can understand that. I can understand someone buying something a bit more pumped up in height and with proper 4-wheel drive off-road, because they live out in the sticks and they might get stuck when it snows, or they live where it's muddy. But and that's why I think a Suzuki Jimny, I love those. I'm so jealous that Jonny Smith, CarPervert, the Late Break Show, he's got one. He got one for his wife, very clever. And I see him driving it a lot. I see what he's done. My wife would love one of those too, but the thing is you can't buy one. There's so much money. And because they're so limited in numbers, they're not being made anymore. I think they're going to be stop being made or stop being delivered brand new in less than a year because of emissions and things like that. But I love the fact that it's really quite basic. It's got a proper handbrake. I love all those things about it. But yes, So I went off on quite a few tangents there. We've covered that it would be a mad idea to go and buy that 911 shell. If you had the space, it would be totally worth it, I think, if you bought the shell and the engine and just stuck it into storage somewhere. There's a few 912s. There were two on eBay, and they were recently imported. One didn't have an engine and gearbox, and the other one just had it, like, I think the crankcase, and that was it. But they're all dismantled or rusted out. One of them came with new floors, but they weren't fitted. But they had a starting price of £12,500, and both of them didn't get a bid. So it tells you that the prices are high, but the prices are high for the right ones. And the wrong ones, not wrong ones, there's some that have issues. There's one for £29,000 or £30,000 that needs work. It's a 3-dial one, and it's going to be a 4-speed. So 30,000, and it needs a bit of work. I don't know. That still sounds like a lot of money. I mean, I can't believe that people were selling them for, just 2 years ago, a working one for £18,000. You know, I went to see one 5 months ago. That was £25,000 over in Gloucester or somewhere like that. It kind of worked. It was, parts of it were dismantled, but it had not significant rust. It had rust issues even though it had new floors. So I don't know. I mean, I think price-wise, you're better off. If you've got the money, you're better off looking towards the top end, because the value for money, if you can get one for 50,000, that's had a recent rebuild and has zero rust, you can't really go wrong. Right, let's see if I can just give it some beans here. I'm scared of redlining it. That is nice, but it's kind of ruined by the fact that I've got it's kind of ruined by the fact that I don't have the right tire pressures and it's over the bumps. So I need to sort that out. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say at this point. There's the thing about I wanted to. I'm not a very good YouTuber or video blogger or vlogger or whatever you want to call it, because I don't promote it in the right way. And I watched the thing about. I don't know if you've seen the YouTube channel Rata Rossa. I can't remember the guy's name. I've seen a few of his videos, and I mean, he makes great. He's not great on the technology for video making, or the way he makes the video is he makes a video there and then and uploads it, and it's quite authentic. But his content is interesting because, you know, deals sounds wrong. He works with Ferraris, and he's gone from, you know, starting out putting together a Rattler Ferrari Testarossa Roadster to he's just bought a Boxer, and it's really interesting. You know, people are watching it, but his channel has just, you know, grown in such an amazing way, and I don't know if I've got the content to do that. I don't know if I want to do that. I would love to spend more time working on classic cars. I'm not really one for driving around in newer cars. They just don't float my boat. So, you know, if I had, if this was my livelihood, and obviously to have something as your livelihood that you love doing, oh my god, it's the dream. But I'd just be driving, you know, older 911s, probably from this era older, but all the way back to, you know, 356s. And then, but it wouldn't just be Porsche. It'd be, you know, I'd want to be driving a Gullwing, an E-Type, VW Fastbacks, BMW M1 2002 Ti, that kind of stuff, where it's much more basic. I'd love to drive an old Aston Martin. But actually, I'd go back from like a Vantage, one of the very first Vantages, to all the way back to a DB4 maybe. So I don't think that's as interesting as, you know, someone on TGTV, for example, who drives a Porsche one day, a Ferrari next day, a Lamborghini the next day, and they're all new. And he's selling a lifestyle, which I'm not. So yeah, I need to think about how I want to progress with this, because it takes quite a lot of effort, even just to not to think about what I'm going to say, because most of the time I don't think about what I'm going to say, and that's the problem. It's just a stream of consciousness that a lot of the time is bordering on incoherent. But I don't know what I want it to be in the future. Do I want to go to the next level? Because I'm at what, 350 subscribers, which is, you know, zilch. But at least I feel like my subscribers are properly interested in what I'm doing, and I hope that you guys find it useful, that if there's mistakes to be made, I'm probably going to make them. But at the same time, I'm hopefully showing a way that you can get behind the wheel of a 911 without breaking the bank, and probably be able to enjoy it without having the worry that comes with it. So yeah, I need to have a think about where it's going to go. I don't know where it's going to go, because there was a time I was thinking, well, do I want to carry on with it? But no, I do. I really do. Especially with having the 912, having this. They're two separate things that are kind of very closely connected, obviously. But having talked to lots of different people in the Porsche community, and some in the MG community, and there were a few people that I spoke to in the Lamborghini. Oh no! I've just been hit by a gritting truck, a gritter. That's upsetting. So, and there is somebody who keeps asking me about merch, and it makes me smile every time, because I think he's having me on. And yeah, that's not going to happen. But I really like the interaction. I like the way that people are reaching out and giving me constructive ideas when I present a problem. But also, they're asking me about what experiences I've had when it came to buying, looking at, and considerations for certain things. So, and when people ask me about certain things, like they've got the same car and there's they've got an issue with it, and they go, oh, what's yours like for this? And we're able to share ideas, I guess. I like that. So at first I thought, no, I can't, it's just a lot of effort, but I can't ditch doing it just because I think I've still not finished the story of the 996 or the 912, and I feel like something weird might happen where I end up buying another one, or I might swap one of these for a different one. It can only be for an older one, surely. But I don't know what that would be, because this is my everyday car. So I don't know if I can swap this for an older everyday car, an older 911 as an everyday car. I don't know. No, I think this will just stay as my everyday car. Everything on a complete and utter budget, and just see how it goes. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. No, that's it. That's what I'm going to do. everyone, thank you very much for tuning in this past year and taking part, reaching out, responding to stuff that I've asked about. Certainly everybody who's hit follow on YouTube and Instagram, and I hope there's going to be more of that this year, and I do know that I need to just put a bit more effort in. So hit subscribe, hit like, and let's see where it goes. Thank you very much.